Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Midshipman Stephen Ware. As part of the memorial's commemorations of the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, this evening's ceremony remembers the 80th anniversary of the invasion of Tarakan. 80 years ago, Australian forces successfully led the Allied liberation of Borneo from Japanese occupation, beginning with the invasion of Tarakan. It was the first of several Australian amphibious operations on Borneo. These proved to be the final major actions of the Second World War. A small island off the northeast coast of Borneo, Tarakan contained oil fields that before the war had annually produced 6 million barrels of what was reputed to be the world's purest oil. While this oil infrastructure and Tarakan's airfield made the island strategically desirable, the decision to invade was largely political, intended to liberate areas of Dutch territory in the Netherlands East Indies, now Indonesia, and to make Australian forces more visible in the war against Japan. Before the landing, the shore was bombarded from the sea and air, causing heavy clouds of black smoke from exploded ammunition dumps and oil storage tanks. Elements of the 26th Brigade landed on the 1st of May 1945. Engineers went in first and cleared gaps through the beach defences with explosives. There was fierce fighting as the Australians pushed inland. More than 200 Australians were killed or died of their wounds before the last Japanese positions fell on the 20th of June 1945. Amongst the dead was Sergeant Tom Diver Derrick, recipient of the Victoria Cross and the Distinguished Conduct Medal. He was possibly Australia's most famous soldier during the Second World War. Today we commemorate the invasion of Tarakan, those who fell and whose names are recorded on the Roll of Honour, and we remember the survivors who returned home. This evening we warmly welcome the family of Corporal Thomas Benjamin Nixon, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome Mr. Patrick Delgaitis, Deputy President of the Returned and Services League of Australia ACT branch, and Mr. Omer Insakara, Chair of the Ataturk Scholarship, accompanied by Mr. Oz Gergen, and the delegation representing the 2025 Gallipoli Scholarship, including General the Honourable David Hurley, former Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Mrs. Linda Hurley. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of Elstonwick Primary School, visiting from Brighton in Victoria. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
All
Students and visitors who are able to do so, you may now please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Thomas Benjamin Nixon. Thomas Nixon was born in April or May 1921 in Northumberland, England, the elder son of Sarah and Benjamin Nixon. Thomas's father, Benjamin, was a veteran of the First World War. He had returned home after the war with damaged lungs caused by poison gases he had been exposed to in the trenches of the Western Front. Benjamin's doctor advised him to move to a warmer climate, so the Nixon family emigrated to Australia with Thomas and his younger brother Norman in 1926. They settled in the Western Sydney suburb of Lakemba. Known by family and friends as Ben, Thomas Nixon attended Lakemba Public Secondary School and at the age of 15 undertook a tailoring apprenticeship at a Jewish menswear factory in Surrey Hills. Here he met Margaret Mayer, a fellow machinist, and the two began a relationship. With the Second World War raging, Nixon enlisted for service on the 22nd of May 1941. He joined the 18th Battalion of the Militia, known as the Ku-ring-gai Regiment, on the 1st of October 1941. In November of 1942, the battalion's machine gun company, of which Nixon was part, was detached and joined other militia machine gun companies to form the 6th Machine Gun Battalion. As Private Nixon joined his comrades in this new unit, he enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 28th of September 1942. This would allow them to serve outside Australian territory, which was not permitted for those in the militia. By then, Nixon had fallen foul of military discipline, being found absent without leave in August and then early September, and then fined as punishment both times. Nixon married his sweetheart, Margaret, in a civil ceremony in November of 1942, and the newly married soldier continued to be found absent without leave. In January, he was confined to barracks for a week for the same offence, and again in May, when he was fined £1. Having trained at Walgrove, Wollongong, and Shell Harbour, Private Nixon embarked with the 6th Machine Gun Battalion as it travelled to New Guinea, where the Australians were fighting the Japanese. The battalion came under the command of the 7th Division in October 1943, joining the Markham and Ramu Valley Finisterre Range campaign. Its role was to defend Gusup Airfield amid heavy fighting around Shaggy Ridge. Conditions around the airfield were highly malarial, and the machine gunners were subjected to aerial attacks. Despite further instances of being found absent without leave, Nixon performed well. He was appointed acting corporal in October, a rank that was confirmed in early March of 1944. Returning to Australia later in the month, Corporal Nixon and his comrades in the 6th Machine Gun Battalion had leave before the battalion began disbanding. Its personnel were needed as reinforcements for other operational units. Nixon found himself in the 2nd 24th Battalion in March of 1945. His new unit was committed to Operation Oboe, the Allied campaign to retake Borneo and Java. In April, the battalion was transported to Morotai in preparation for amphibious landings on Borneo. A massive pre-invasion air and naval bombardment had cleared the beaches during the landing on Tarakan on the 1st of May, but sharp Japanese fire came from nearby Linkas Hill. The two battalions pushed inland towards the Tarakan township, overcoming Japanese resistance as they went. By nightfall, a beachhead had been established, and almost all of their objectives had been taken, but the Japanese held out. The 2nd 24th was ordered to push through and capture the airfield, which was not taken until the 5th of May. During the fierce fighting, Corporal Nixon was wounded in action. Evacuated to a field ambulance, from there to a casualty clearance station and then to hospital, he was placed on the seriously ill list. In letters home to his heavily pregnant wife, who was living with Nixon's parents in Sydney, Thomas Nixon did his best to reassure his family, writing that the doctors say that my improvement in condition is remarkable, and noting that I sleep like a log, waking up to find myself a day closer to recovery. but the improvement of Nixon's condition was only temporary, and he died of his wounds on the 26th of May, 1945. His daughter, Robin, was born some 3 weeks later in Australia. Thomas Nixon was 24 years old. His younger brother, Norman, enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force and returned home after the war. Thomas Nixon's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is one but many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Thomas Benjamin Nixon, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If you're able, I now invite you to please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.